Be me, 32 years old and perpetually single for the last 4 years straight. Every situationship I get into fizzles out after a few weeks max. Guys seem interested at first, then slowly start to pull away from me. Always end up getting the "I don't think we're compatible" text eventually. Cannot figure out what I am doing wrong in these situations honestly. I am attractive and successful, and have my life together completely. Have a good job, and my own apartment, and interesting hobbies too. On paper, I should be exactly what men say they are looking for. My friends are all in the same boat as me when it comes to dating. We get together every weekend and complain about how terrible men are. Talk about how they cannot handle strong, independent women like us. Reassure each other that the right guy will see our worth eventually. But deep down, I am starting to wonder if something else is going on. 4 years is a long time to be single when you are actively trying. Been on probably 60 or 70 first dates in that time period, honestly. Only a handful made it to date 5, and none made it past date 8. My company brings in this consultant named Victor for a 3-month project. He is mid-40s and has this calm energy like nothing rattles him ever. Been married for 18 years and seems to have a really good relationship. I overhear him giving advice to one of the younger guys at work. The younger guy is asking him how he knew his wife was the one. Victor says he knew because she made him feel like the best version of himself. Said being around her made him want to be better, not feel like he was failing. Said she was warm and supportive and made him feel like he could do anything. Something about that sticks with me for the rest of the day, honestly. Cannot remember the last time a guy said anything like that about me. Usually I get told I am intense or intimidating or hard to read. One guy said I made him feel like he was always being tested constantly. Few weeks later, I end up at a work happy hour sitting near Victor. We get to talking, and somehow the topic of dating comes up naturally. I vent about how frustrating it is being single for so long now. Say, I do not understand what I am doing wrong in these situations. He listens and then asks me a question that catches me off guard. Asks what kind of energy I think I bring to a first date usually. I say confident and interesting, and someone who knows her worth. He nods slowly, like he is processing something he does not want to say. Tell him to just say whatever he is thinking, because I can take it. He sighs and says he has a phrase for the energy some women bring. Says some women have what he calls the ick energy on dates. I ask him what the hell that is supposed to mean exactly. He says it is when a woman gives a man the ick before he gives her one, like she is already disgusted by him before he even opens his mouth. Already looking for reasons to reject him instead of reasons to like him. Projecting an energy that says, prove to me you are not trash like the rest. Says men can feel that energy within the first 5 minutes of meeting someone. It makes them feel like they are on trial instead of on a date. Like nothing they say or do will ever be good enough for her. So they either shut down or start looking for the exit immediately. Ask him if he thinks I give off that energy to the men I date. He pauses and says, honestly, yes, based on what he has observed of me. Says he has watched me interact with men at work events before. I have this way of making them feel small without even saying anything mean. I immediately get defensive and say I am just confident in myself. He says confidence does not make other people feel like shit though. Confidence is secure and warm and does not need to tear others down. What I project is closer to contempt than confidence if he is being honest. Asks me to think about my last few first dates and how they went. How did I greet the guy when he showed up to meet me for date? What was my body language like during the conversation we had? What questions did I ask, and how did I respond to his answers? Think about my last first date a few weeks ago with a guy from App. He showed up, and I immediately noticed his shoes were not great quality. Mentally noted that, as a yellow flag, before he even said hello to me. Gave him a polite smile, but probably not a warm one looking back. During dinner, I asked him about his job and his 5-year plan for career. Asked about his past relationships and why they ended and what he learned. Asked about his living situation and whether he owns or rents his place. Realized now that it probably felt like a job interview more than a date when he talked about his hobby of playing video games on weekends. I made a comment about that being kind of immature for a grown man. He got quiet after that, and the conversation never really recovered honestly. He texted later saying he did not feel a connection, which I blamed on him. Victor asks how I would feel if a guy interrogated me like that on first date. If he judged my hobbies and asked about my finances and graded my answers, I admit I would probably feel defensive and want to get out of there fast. He says exactly so. Why do I think it is okay to do that to men? Says the purpose of a first date is to see if you enjoy each other's company, not to evaluate whether someone meets your checklist of requirements immediately. Says, I can learn about compatibility over time without making it an interrogation. But I have to actually make the guy feel good enough to want a second date. Ask him what women who are successful at dating do differently than me. He says they focus on connection first and evaluation later, if at all. They ask questions out of genuine curiosity, not to screen for red flags. They laugh and smile and make the other person feel interesting and valued. Says his wife on their first date made him feel like the most interesting man. She asked about his passions and actually listened when he talked about them. She laughed at his jokes, even the dumb ones, and shared stories of her own. By the end, he was thinking about when he could see her again already. Says, I probably leave guys thinking about how to avoid seeing me again. Not because I did anything obviously wrong, but because of the energy I brought. The ick energy that makes them feel judged and found lacking from minute one. Hard to want a second date with someone who made you feel like a failure. Ask him where he thinks this energy comes from in women like me. He says usually it is a protection mechanism from past hurt or disappointment. If you reject them before they can reject you, then you stay in control. If you find their flaws first, then you cannot be blindsided later by them. Says the problem is that protection mechanism guarantees you stay alone forever. No one can get close enough to hurt you, but also no one can get close at all. You screen out the bad ones, but you also screen out everyone else too. End up alone and blame it on men instead of examining your own patterns. That hits me hard because I know exactly where this comes from, honestly. My college boyfriend cheated on me, and it completely destroyed my trust in men. Every guy since then has been paying for what he did to me years ago. I have been looking for reasons to reject them before they can betray me. Tell Victor this, and he nods, like he expected something like that. Probably, says a lot of women are walking around with old wounds that are not healed. They bring those wounds into every new interaction and poison it from the start. The new guy has no chance because he is already guilty of someone else's crime. Says if I want different results, I have to bring different energy to dates. Have to actually give men a chance before deciding they are going to hurt me. Have to make them feel good instead of making them feel like they are failing. Have to lead with curiosity and warmth instead of suspicion and judgment. Ask him how I am supposed to do that when my instinct is to protect myself. He says it starts with recognizing when I am doing it in the moment, noticing when I am judging instead of listening or testing instead of connecting. Catching myself before the ick energy takes over and ruins another opportunity. Also says I might need to do some real work on healing those old wounds. Cannot keep making new men pay for what one guy did years ago to me. Have to separate the past from the present and give people a fair chance. Otherwise, I will be alone forever, and it will be my own fault entirely. Spend the next few weeks really paying attention to my behavior on dates. Match with a guy on an app who seems nice, and we plan to meet for drinks. Notice my immediate instinct is to find something wrong with his profile first. Catch myself, and decide to go in with genuine curiosity instead of judgment. Show up to the date, and he is already there, waiting looking a little nervous. Old me would have noted that as insecurity and marked it as a red flag. New me smiles warmly and says, hi, and thanks him for picking a nice spot. His whole body relaxes when I smile at him, and he smiles back genuinely. During the conversation, I ask about his hobbies and actually listen to answers. He talks about restoring old motorcycles on weekends and instead of judging it. I ask follow-up questions about how he got into it and what he loves about it. He lights up talking about it, and I realize this is what connection feels like. When he tells a joke that is honestly kind of dumb, I laugh anyway. Not a fake laugh, but just letting myself enjoy the moment with another person. He seems surprised that I laughed, and then more confident for the rest of night. Realize how much my reactions affect how comfortable someone feels around me. At the end of the date, he says he had a really great time with me, says I am easy to talk to, and he felt comfortable, which he does not always feel. Asks if I would want to do this again sometime, and I say yes, genuinely meaning it. Old me would have played it cool, but new me just says what I actually feel. We go on more dates, and it is the longest I have made it in years. Not because he is perfect, but because I stopped looking for reasons to leave, started focusing on whether I enjoy his company instead of whether he passes tests, started making him feel good instead of making him prove himself to me constantly. Tell Victor a few weeks later that I think his advice is actually working now. He smiles and says he is glad I actually listened instead of getting defensive. Says most people hear feedback like that and double down on what they were doing. The fact that I tried something different shows growth that most people avoid. Ask him if he has any other advice for keeping this going long term. He says remember that relationships are about making each other feel valued, not about power or control or protecting yourself from potential future pain. The moment you start treating him like a threat, he will become one eventually. Says his wife still makes him feel like the best version of himself after 18 years. Not because she ignores his flaws, but because she leads with love, not suspicion. She gives him the benefit of the doubt and assumes good intentions always. And because of that, he wants to live up to her belief in him constantly. Realize that is the opposite of what I have been doing for years, assuming bad intentions and waiting for men to prove me right about them, treating them like they were guilty until proven innocent beyond reasonable doubt. No wonder they all pulled away when they felt like they could never win. Few months later, things with the guy are still going really well, honestly. He tells me one night that he almost did not ask for a second date, says I seem different from other women, and he could not figure out why at first. Thought I was out of his league because I seemed so confident and put together. But then he said I smiled at him in a way that made him feel welcome, like I was actually happy to be there with him instead of judging him constantly. That one smile changed everything and made him want to see me again. Made him feel like he had a chance instead of like he was already failing. Realized that Victor was right about everything he told me at that happy hour. The ick energy was pushing men away before they even had a chance with me. My protection mechanism was protecting me from the very thing I wanted most. I was so focused on not getting hurt that I guaranteed I would end up alone. Think about all the guys over the past 4 years who I dismissed too quickly. The ones who probably would have been great if I gave them a real chance. The connections I destroyed before they could even start because of my energy. All because I was still punishing men for what one guy did years ago. Call my single friends that weekend and tell them about what I learned recently. Some of them listen and seem open to examining their own patterns too. Others get defensive and say, I am blaming women for men being trash, basically. Realize those are the ones who will probably stay single just like I was. One friend says she refuses to lower her standards or be fake nice to men. I tell her it is not about lowering standards, it is about raising your energy. You can still have standards and also be warm and pleasant to be around. Those two things are not mutually exclusive, but she does not want to hear it. Let her go and focus on my own growth instead of trying to change others. Cannot force anyone to see what they are not ready to see for themselves. Some people would rather be right about men being the problem than be happy. I was one of those people for 4 years until Victor showed me another way. A year later, I am still with the same guy and we moved in together. He says all the time that I make him feel like he can do anything, that my belief in him makes him want to be better in every part of his life. Realize this is what Victor meant about his wife all those months ago. Finally understand that relationships are not about protecting yourself from pain. They are about being vulnerable enough to let someone actually get close to you. About making someone feel valued instead of making them prove their value constantly. About leading with warmth instead of suspicion and curiosity instead of judgment. The ick energy I used to bring to every interaction was killing my chances. It was a wall disguised as standards and a weapon disguised as confidence. I thought I was protecting myself, but I was really just guaranteeing loneliness. Took one honest conversation with a married man to show me what I was doing wrong. Sometimes the best advice comes from people who have what you want already, not from single friends who are stuck in the same patterns and pain as you. Victor had 18 years of happy marriage, and he knew what actually works. My single friends had years of failed dating and were just validating my mistakes. Not everyone will tell you the truth because the truth is hard to hear. But the people who care enough to tell you anyway are the ones worth listening to. Victor did not have to explain the ick energy to me that day at happy hour. But he did, and it completely changed my understanding of dating and myself. Sometimes you are the reason men do not want a second date with you. Not because you are too intimidating or too successful or too much to handle, but because you make them feel like shit before they even have a chance. The ick energy is real, and I had it for years without even realizing it. But the good news is that energy can be changed if you are willing to try. You can heal the old wounds and stop punishing new people for past pain. You can lead with warmth instead of suspicion, and watch everything change. You can find what you are looking for once you stop pushing it away first.